This week or next week?
Isn't it this week? I don't know. I can't keep up.
Yeah, I've been getting pulled in just a gazillion different directions the
Yes,
last
it's OPEX week.
couple weeks. So I don't. I've been. Yeah.
It is OPEX week. Let's go live stream. Spy QQQ. Let's just put on Netflix in there today. Tesla. Because we got to talk about old Tesla, right? We always got to talk about Tesla.
Yeah.
There we go. Everything's great. We are live on the internet. Share the link. Copy, paste. All right. Stock twat has been tweeted. Tweeter X has been twatted. Oh, I got to change your name, GP. GP7.
Yes.
Oh, I put 4 cash tags in the stock tweets. I don't normally like 4. I only like 3 or less.
No, five or less.
5 or
Anything
less
over
now?
five. Yeah.
Great.
So you're
Big
good.
old base. Thanks, Nick, for the big old base. Hey, we're back. We're live. We've twatted, we've tweeted. We're here 3 minutes, 6 minutes after 3 p.m. on Monday, September 16th. Um, we were just talking about OPEX fuckery and Fed fuckery coming this week. But GP, you were so astute. You said, hey, this market all starts and ends with
There is Netflix. It's the only one that matters.
old Netfucks. What
God.
were you saying? What were you saying about this candle and this action?
Oh, it's just nonsense. I think everyone knows where it's going except for the people who are doomers. If you're looking at the charts, and I'm not talking about the indices, but if you're looking at the charts, there are an insane amount of charts that are basing out and ready to kind of finally come out of this base, which so happens to line up with an FOMC decision where they're going to introduce liquidity by cutting rates. And so, hey, they kind of work out together. It's funny how that works. But my thesis since the bottom in 2022 was once Netflix bottoms, we talked about this, I think, in January 2022, and then we talked about it again in April when it finally had the double move down, the 75% streak down. When Netflix bottoms, the market has bottomed. And I remember the conversations about we're in a downtrend versus flat, right, during that time. And so now Netflix has been essentially flat ever since it bottomed at this top for the last 6 months, March, right? We've been at
Well,
six.
I mean, in my own defense, I mean, we can relive this revisionist history, but
Nope,
that
it's
is
there. It's in proof, my man.
you can call this flat if you like. You can
That's
call
where we
that
were talking
flat.
about it. That's
Yeah,
where
yeah,
we
yeah,
were talking
yeah.
about
I
it.
know, but again, you can call that flat if you like, but it was still at a downtrend. I guess it can be both. Anyway, please proceed with Netflix.
So Netflix now sitting at all-time highs since essentially March, came down after last earnings. Buyers stepped in, brought it back up, got almost within all-time highs, and then the yen carry trade nonsense came in and right back down to 585. It has had two moments to break out. It will not break out, but it's also not really breaking down. So it's consolidating near all-time highs. When Netflix goes, the rest of the market will go. Because if you look at Netflix, the liquidity is not there. And once that liquidity steps in and pushes through, you're going to see liquidity across the board expand. And when that happens, you should see everything else go with it. It might be FOMC on Wednesday, or it might be earnings in October, right? I don't know when that scenario is going to be, but my thesis has and forever will remain the way the market goes is the way Netflix goes, right? So once Netflix is done rejecting all-time highs for the 742nd time in the last 6 months, we will start to move higher.
That many times, really.
Oh, it's been so many times. It's been ridiculous. And it's you can actually see it because it's like 82% into institutionally owned. It needs something, a catalyst, some sort of catalyst to get the additional institutional ownership to increase and move the price. But most institutionals know that there's not much there. So every time it gets to about 700, the amount of call sellers that step in and like really short-term put buyers that step in is nuts. It literally starts every morning. So until they get blown out, they're going to be happy collecting their premiums.
I think it's great.
What's your rebuttal to that, Nick?
No, I think that. I mean, I think Netflix is getting ready to run to like 900-ish. From there, I think we'll probably see it chop around between like 900 and 1,000, but I think it's getting ready to run. So
yeah,
Well,
the move
that's
is 2,000.
that's a 30. That's a 30% increase to 900.
yeah,
That's
I think
pretty
it's
solid.
But the move is 2,000, right? It's actually no, the move is actually to 1,300, but the initial move off the earnings most likely will be straight to 1,000 or very close to it. It's building. It's just building. So whether you have the patience or not. Right, so back of the napkin math, the range from Netflix's breakdown is 700 to 162. So you subtract that, it's 538 points to 700 gets you to about 1240. Back of the napkin math.
I have 1,200 on my monthly too.
Yep.
Like, yeah, basically, yeah. Well, basically same thing with you.
70+%.
Do you think it? I mean,
it's a 3-year consolidation, right? It's been sitting at 700 since 2021.
Do you think split news is coming?
It needs liquidity, so I hope so because, dude, like we were just talking before we started, I'm like, if you watch the morning action, it took like hundreds of thousands of shares to bring it up the 7 points, and only like 10,000 shares to bring it down 11. It's kind of nuts how quickly it can move down with very, very little volume. So it needs some form of liquidity, whether it's through FOMC, whether it's through a split, whether it's through whatever, right? But it needs some form of liquidity because these 1 to 2.5 million shares a day is not enough to do anything.
So could this week have an impact at all, or it's all earnings based?
For Netflix, it only moves 1 week out of the year, which is earnings, right? So, I mean, out of the quarter, so it's earnings. So if I was betting, I would say it's earnings and not FOMC, but I'd love for it to be FOMC because I'm just tired of waiting.
Because it's sooner.
Exactly.
I have no strong opinions here.
Did that rip off like that higher low we put in last week? Like kind of rip off the lows. Did that catch a lot of people kind of flat-footed? You think?
Based on the sentiment of Friday from the week before,
Yes.
I would say 162%.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure on the Friday, that nasty Friday of the first week of September, everyone was calling for the bigger breakdown, much lower moves, etc. And I think we bullish engulfed the week. So
It's that rip off the lows last week set up so many charts to look so fucking good to me. I mean,
give us some, Nick. Tell us some.
like, okay, so I mean, you can go with like Meta, for instance, is set to go. It kind of the thing I like about Meta and Netflix is that Meta and Netflix didn't really pull in too hard compared to the rest of the names. Like Apple kind of got dinged pretty good. Google's still kind of struggling a little bit, but like Tesla, for instance, it put in that nasty bar and kind of ate it up, and now it's kind of looking like an ascending triangle kind of pattern. But either
Or
way,
an island.
the move over like 233, 235 is kind of like the level we're watching or that I'm watching.
On
Um,
Tesla.
yeah,
Does it, Nick, quick question on Tesla. Does it not feel like it's first of all, I the way I see it is it's an island, and the way I see it out of
oh
this,
yeah,
there's only one way out.
a gap and go.
Gapping through. Yeah. Like there's no grinding through,
Sure,
in my
that'd
opinion.
be a really
So
pretty setup.
yeah, that's the setup right now, that it looks like it's an island bottom
Yeah,
here, um, off higher lows, so to speak. Um, you're in a golden cross. Yeah, I just my opinion is that, not that that happens anymore, but I feel like the only way up through this nonsense is to gap out and force the options market to reprice.
sure.
What's gonna be the catalyst to make that happen for Netflix, or sorry, for Tesla though?
I don't know. It could be anything. What if the court decides that they accept the stockholder? Literally, it could be anything. Like Elon could have a cold and get COVID, and that could be the reason for Tesla, right? I don't know what the reason is going to be, but there's a lot of reasons that it's possible. The court order is one of them. If they get full approval of the FSD in China, that'll be another one, right? They're planning on Q1, but that's probably the other one because China expands. Delivery numbers next week, I think, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. It's the first Monday or Tuesday of the quarter, so that should be, no, not next week, the week after, right?
It's
Yeah.
usually at the
Then you
beginning.
have Robotaxi, and then you have a lot of other stuff, but I think the ones that people already know about won't be the reasons, right? So it's never obvious, or maybe it will be obvious. Who knows anymore? The contrarian point of view has never been less effective.
Hmm. Yeah, gap and go on this chart would be lovely. Just shoot up over that 260-ish area and just keep powering. That'd be a beauty.
I don't know. I don't see any other way out of this, right? Every time it gets to the top of the range, it sells off. So I don't know how you can possibly get out of this up and down without a gap and go and force people to reposition whatever their short-term positions are.
You buy any more Tesla here?
I'm
Me?
not. I'm
Either
not
of you?
right at the moment. No.
Why buy here when you could have bought in the 140s?
I don't know. If you're saying there's huge potential for a gap and go, then trains leaving the station for Delaware.
So I have some short term like leaps, like 5-6 months out. You're finally getting a monthly MACD cross that has been rejected twice now, or 3 times. The last time we got a monthly MACD up cross was November 2019.
Yes, let's get that going.
And so
Yes, please.
that was the start of the move from 17 to $414. Not saying that's going to happen this time, but the monthly MACD is usually one of the better indicators for more upside in the near-term future.
You're our Ichimoku guy too, GP. Monthly in the green cloud, weekly above the red cloud, and daily above the cloud.
Yes, and above all the flat top clouds, right? So these flat top clouds are technically quite often resistance or support. So if you're sitting above it, I would say it's support. If you're sitting under it, it's going to be resistance until the flat top cloud passes. And so there's a lot here, right? But I'm not the only one who sees this. There's so many eyes on Tesla that the chances of it actually happening are who knows.
What's up, Pratt? Good to see you. So I love to play this game. I've got $10,000 to give you to invest.
There's a lot here.
Are you putting anything in Tesla for me if this is the new position today?
Nah.
That doesn't sound like a lot of conviction there,
Well,
GP.
I mean,
I'll come back to you, Nick. I want to hear both sides first.
I'm just saying I'd rather go pull out like another like easy double.
Okay.
Like Toast, for instance. Like if Toast busts out of here, I could see that thing run to 50. There's an easy double for you. Whereas like
Okay.
Tesla, I couldn't. I don't know if I could get you an easy. Oh, maybe.
No, you can get like a 30-40% move in Tesla. There's so many eyes on it. It's hard to get the double right now, right? Without actual real catalyst.
Yeah, yeah.
So would you take some of my money, GP, and put it in Tesla right now?
Um,
Netflix or Tesla?
Neither, man. Neither one's gonna get you more
Uh,
than 30. No, if we're looking for
I've
a
got a
really,
hard-earned $10,000.
and you're looking to double it.
And I just need to keep making money and growing this thing. And you're helping me out because you
Benefit.
love me so much.
That would
Would
be
you put
Tesla.
would you put part or some of my money in Tesla today?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I'm not saying that you need to grow it by X amount, but you would invest me in Tesla.
Yeah, like are there better setups?
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Is it something you can go wrong with? I don't personally think so. Um, but it's been a dog for multiple years, right? So it's easy that it can go right back to the bottom of the range. So,
All right,
um,
Nick, you said toast.
Like
Um,
I was gonna say
you would
Toast.
you would forego any money in Tesla and whatever portion of that 10,000 you'd say toast.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it at Toast.
That's
Just kidding.
fine. I'm not judging. I'm just trying to see what your conviction is in the name. GP
I mean,
likes it. He likes it for me.
I could go with Roblox too. Like I love the look of like. I mean, Toast is just it's breaking out right now. Where
Yeah, I
Roblox
love Roblox
isn't
too.
isn't quite breaking out, but it's trying to. A 3 week tight up here at the highs of the range. I don't know.
still grinding though, man. Where's the moves? This is, I'm like, come on, just move.
Well, they're both big bases, right? And
Yeah.
that's something that we've been on for months on end, years now, basically, right?
Yep.
Is bases. So you either want to catch the breakout or you want to be in a consolidation base that is drying up and getting ready to go, right?
Yep.
So it's six of one, half dozen of another.
Yeah. So
Nick,
if
you wouldn't take 2,500 for Tesla and 2,500 for Toast.
Sure.
and
I,
then use the other 5 grand to short the living ever shit out of Boeing.
Let's look at old body anatomy here, BA.
It's breaking down every weekly
Oh my
candle, monthly
gosh.
candles making new lows. This thing is going back to the 80s, right? It's, in my opinion, it's got your little Batman pattern.
Ugh, 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 yeah.
Yeah. See? Now you want to put all 10 grand in a short at Boeing.
I don't think I could ever put everything I had into a short. Call me crazy, but I don't think I could
Yes,
ever.
I understand, but Boeing's not going to have more than a 10% move higher, right? Like it's just not going to do it. So you're risking, I think, in this scenario, you're risking very little.
I'm not in disagreement with you. I'm just saying I don't think that I could sleep well at night knowing that I'm betting on the collapse, right? Like that's my mental is I'm okay to play short, but all in on a short, that's not my character.
I know, but look at that chart. Just look at it.
I,
In the
I
middle of a bull market, look at this chart. It's yeah. Sorry.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing.
I'll
a lot of
stop.
those growth names that a lot of the growth guys that yeah, a lot of the names of the growth guys have been all over are all setting up pretty good. Jev has already run like that had a pretty slick ass
Which
breakout
one,
last
Nick?
Jev GEV,
EV,
but like
Jericho Energy.
VST was another big
G.
one that a lot of the growth guys were on, which is getting ready to kind of break out or is kind of breaking out right here.
Who?
VST.
BST. V or B?
V is in Victoria.
Yeah, V is in Victoria.
Very sultry turkey. That looks like a pretty nice chart.
And then Sedge, CEG was the other one.
So
Yeah, big
the
move today.
Twitterati have been all over these names, is what you're saying?
The growth guys, like growth and momentum. Like growth investors are like momentum traders. They're kind of like one and the same, I feel like.
ASTS2, the
Oh yeah.
Alex Piotr. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name, Alex Piotrowski. ASTS. Have you been looking at this one, Nick?
Yeah.
That was one of the growth names too.
Really? Hmm. So you'd put 50, you put half of my money in one of these bitches, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Of the bunch, I definitely like VST.
Yeah, me too.
I definitely like VST. That looks like a promising setup.
Yeah, take a look at also CCL.
CCL, good old Carnival. That's a nice base
Big little base.
Yeah.
with little flat top wedge action here.
Yup. This looks phenomenal to me.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Unlike its brother RCL, which has already crushed everything.
Yeah, that looks pretty nice. Where would you buy here, GP?
Bottom of that range, that ascending,
Like 15
yeah, or on the breakout.
or the breakout. So 15 or 20.
Yeah. Like,
Right
but
now at 17, it's no man's land.
I don't think it's a bad, but I think you just got to keep a wider stop, right? If
Yeah.
you're going to be inclined to buy here, then you just got to keep a wider stop. So,
Yeah.
right? Like you could be like, well, this is the final kind of test, and we're only going to go higher from here. Then your assessment can be, I buy here with a really tight stop, right? 10 cents, 20 cents, whatever it is, or with the wide stop in a lower amount.
Yeah. Our friend Brad says, "Hi guys, do you think Amazon goes to the Bezos 200 wall?" Do I think that it goes to the Bezos 200 wall? Yes, I mean,
Yeah, I think it's
Amazon is one of my largest holdings, and I am going to say forever higher. So I don't know what time frame is, but yes, I see Amazon going back to 200
I think
eventually.
it clears this time, right? Whenever it actually goes back to 200, I think that's where it starts to clear. If you look at the monthly, it has spent essentially so it went back to all-time highs in February, and then 6 months kind of just sitting above it. So I think I don't think it looks back after it takes out 200 this time.
Base, 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 base. We're talking about base. Where is the rebel base?
Right, like so take a look at the all-time highs from 2020 essentially, and then it tried to peak if you go to the monthly on Amazon.
Yes, I was
So
just there.
it made all-time highs, I think in August 2020 during all the SoftBank crap, September. And then it has tried to break out like 2 or 3 different times in that base and got rejected each time. But that all-time high is the level I'm watching from September 2020, which it's kind of basing above here. That's the red, yeah, that one.
Yep.
So it's
Yeah,
been basing
it's
above that. So I like it. Unlike if you're looking at, for example, one of these bases where it's not doing that is Micron.
Oh boy.
right? Bring up the monthly, now expand
Yeah.
all the way out. It took out a 24-year high, 24-year high, by the way, and then immediately rejected it. Maybe it goes higher, but right now it's not doing the things I would have expected it to.
Yeah, I would be worried if it got below like 75.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a 24-year base. So you wouldn't have expected to come right back below the base like the following month or the following 2 months. You would have expected buyers to step in.
Hey, you know where there's another island setting up?
Tell us, Nicholas.
Crowd.
CRWD. I love some cybersecurities. Yep. You want to see it get back up there though.
Yeah.
She's not quite there. She got
It looks
she's
like a
got
bear flag to me.
she's got to take out 270.
Does it not look like a bear flag to
270.
you?
No, that's 280. Yeah.
I'm too optimistic to see a bear flag and too bullish on cybersecurity in general.
Yeah, but this is not a cybersecurity conversation. This is just a crowd conversation because crowd done and went and messed up their
Yeah.
like they literally shut down the country for like a week. So
I think that
um
285 is a massive level, and if it can get above 285 and hold, I think it's back to game on.
yeah, if it gets above that level, I would say so. But I think it might end up being a trap, right? So I don't see the volume that should have come in on a move like this. It still looks like a lot of distribution. I think their impacts to their business don't come to fruition until the companies that got affected, Delta, United, find a better option, which may take a year, right? But they're divesting. They're not putting all their eggs in one basket in CrowdStrike because they can't have that.
I mean, look at Palo Alto, for example.
Yeah.
If you will.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say, Ben, you've got your Batman pattern happening. That could be a Batman pattern. But at the same time, it is not the damage that has been done here. Um, I mean, Nick, you could convince me over 280 to maybe be a little
Right.
nicer about it.
I'm just saying if it gets above that 285,
Yeah.
it's back, it climbs back in that range. Um, and if it can climb back in that range, then I think it has a chance to get back to like 350. Not saying it busts out and makes new highs, but I think that for a trade, I think you can play that range and then kind of see how it behaves up there, like a
And
400.
Microsoft has a little bit similar of a chart. I thought that looked a little similar. I mean, obviously, crowds more dramatic than Microsoft is, but Microsoft is a very big cybersecurity player as well.
It's kind
So
of another one where I was like, where just in my head, like I like how that rip off the lows last week really made that spike under like the 200-day kind of look like a higher low. You know what I mean?
on Microsoft or Crowd,
On Microsoft.
Yeah. Didn't it touch the weekly
Like,
50 and then retested the weekly 50? Rising?
weekly 50, it did. Certainly did.
Yeah, and the retest, right? People
Yep.
automatically think that retest must be that pivot low, but it can be major moving averages too, right? In this case, so
Yeah.
first major moving average touch was bought, second major moving average was also bought. Especially in a name like Microsoft, right? So much history, so much power, all that stuff. So
So much pent up aggression.
now, or no, now already
Hey,
broke
Nick,
out.
back to Meta.
All right.
Break down Meta for us a little bit. What you like? Would you be a buyer here? Would you put my money in Meta today?
Yeah. Like I liked so within this base, it has 5 waves. beginning back in January of 2024. You've got one up down there. Your second wave is in the highs of March in 2024. Third wave is down into May of 2024, and then the fourth wave up into July. And then this last kind of puke low again, like Meta's another one where again that kind of rip off the lows last week made that the previous week look like a nice higher low there and kind of right off the 50-day. The reason I would have said yes, I would have put money to work today is because where price is at, price broke through the high of the September 12th bar, but more importantly, it broke above that Friday, September 6th, like that wide range bar high. So the breakout today I find to be kind of an important one. Plus, you kind of had that gap higher, and price seems to be holding. It was quite the reversal today because initially it looked a little ugly when it kind of rolled over this morning. But I own it currently. I don't. So yeah, for sure. I definitely would have.
So, Nick, just real quick, you were talking about waves. Someone who is unfamiliar with what you're talking about with waves, care to just go into that just a scooch?
Yeah, when the way that I look at a lot of horizontal bases and a lot of the descending and ascending wedges as well is that when I see five wave five waves or more or less that fifth touch basically. So like Meta, for instance, the fifth touch of the base was down there in what is that? Like July 30th or that gap low, kind of whatever. If
Right here.
price doesn't off that fifth touch, if price doesn't rip higher and break out of the channel within that, like I'm just gonna kind of move it into a back burner name where I think it just needs more time to consolidate. I don't think it's ready, it's breakout worthy. If it That's not to say that it doesn't, like, some names you're gonna have to be a little bit more patient with than others, but for instance, like Meta is a perfect example here. Like you had that fifth touch, price ripped to highs, but then it kind of putzed around, rolled over, pulled back into the 50-day, which would have made me pretty nervous actually, because if price rolls back into the range, there's a in my mind, price is heading back to the low end of the range is just kind of where price is going to gravitate towards. But in this instance, it didn't. The market, as well as like Meta and some of these other names, put in a higher low last week, and based on the candle today or what it appears to be like, we're confirming that higher low. I mean, ultimately in Meta, your confirmation is through that 544.50. But today is definitely a big.
But you wouldn't wait on 544.50. You'd just go ahead and say, here's the money. Take it. Bags needs to grow this thing.
Yeah, what about it? I mean, I think again, the conspiracy theorist inside of me believes that like Meta is going to be like our future, in the sense that like I don't think we're anywhere near what we're going to see come out of Meta. Like I think that everything that you own is going to be tied to your profile, like your account. Like I think however this election plays out, like I think that it's no matter how it plays out, like I think we're going to see civil unrest. So I think Meta is going to be the thing that we like actually vote on. I've talked about this before, but yes, to answer your question, I would have no problem throwing money at Meta right now. I think it's getting ready to.
Hi, Randy. Hey,
I
girl.
think I think it's a big name. Like it's as much as I like hate social media, or I think even Zuckerberg's kind of a slime ball. Like I think Meta is, I don't know, it's it.
All right.
Like what?
GP, we had a question on XBI. Would you like to touch on XBI? We all can talk about it.
Yeah, so obviously XBI has looked like it's going to break out for goodness, I don't know, a couple of years now. I just noticed, yeah, I just noticed when I was looking through some of the flow this morning is that XBI being one of the few indices that is sitting above, like, I think 95% of the puts in an OPEX week, which you don't quite often see. It stays is quite balanced when it comes to OPEX weeks. It kind of what people refer to as max pain, so it'll sit between largest calls and largest puts. But um, when you have names, there's quite a few names that I have on this list as well, and we'll discuss those as well. But they're sitting in potential gamma squeeze territory, right? They're basically saying, hey, there's no puts to kind of hold us back, that if the bulls step in and through, that we can push to the highest call strike. I think in this case for XBI, you're looking towards 108 by the end of the week, or 110, whatever the number was. I can't remember off the top of my head, but essentially there's nothing stopping it from pushing higher. So if the bulls step in, and that's the big if, right? If the bulls step in, you can easily have the bear step in off of FOMC. It can now go back into the balance and not be in a gamma squeeze. But if they want to push through, the push through can be pretty heavy here. And considering where it's at, considering what's looming on Wednesday, my bias would be that it's going to break out higher, even though today is check ships, right?
I mean, the
So
setup looks okay. I mean, you're at the top of the highs of the range. I mean, if you want to even call that a little flag there, you can do that. You're above all major weekly moving averages. You're above all daily moving averages. You're above all monthly moving averages. So I mean that checks a lot of boxes on my checklist before
yep.
I start getting too bulled up on stuff.
And then you have that gamma squeeze, right? So you're adding all these together to say your bias at this point should be to a big breakout here, right?
Randy
And
likes it. We don't need to talk about it anymore. Randy's on board with XBI. Randy's been money.
yep, that's true. That's true. But that's the thought process behind it. And names that fall into that category, if you were going to guess, can you guess a few names? And I'll give you a list, a few of them.
Names in XBI.
No, names that fall into that category of potential gamma
Oh,
squeezes.
I like this game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
I have a list of, I probably have a list of 10.
I'm gonna say NVIDIA is a name.
Okay.
Ooh.
Give me 3 each.
NVIDIA. I'm also going to say Tesla,
I was gonna say Tesla, NVIDIA, and Meta.
and
So,
I'm
go ahead, Bags.
and my last one. It's gonna be something not mega, something like Shopify.
I can check shop. NVIDIA is not 100%.
NVIDIA's not.
There's it's such a options flow machine that it's near impossible to be a gamma squeeze, right? So Tesla actually is above 230. It is game on, right? That's why I got to 229.96 today, and not 230.
Jason
So
guessed AMD.
I can check. I didn't check AMD. I didn't check all of them.
Oh well,
No.
tell us the 10 that you have, and then
Okay.
you can check them after we.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so Tesla,
Yep.
Netflix,
Oh, of course. What I was like, it's too good to be true. It's too good to be true.
um, SE.
Etsy.
No, SE, the Singapore
Oh,
company.
SE.
Yes,
C Limited.
Yeah.
yes. Dell.
All right. Dell kind of looks like CrowdStrike too.
And I shit you not, Baba.
Baba Daba. Yabba Dabba Doo.
Chart looks like complete card, but they're in potential gamma squeezes. So you could see potentially news come out. You could see anything that my fundamental belief is that a lot of options markets nowadays control how stocks move. So that's why I have these on radar, because you don't often see, especially Baba, sitting in a gamma squeeze during an OPEX.
I don't know when it's going to happen, but Baba's eventually going to go back to the 110s and 120. I don't know when it's going to. Will it break through? I don't know, but eventually it's going to. A gamma squeeze to get that ball rolling would be fabulous.
Yes. Oh, other one is Roblox.
Oh, I love to hear that.
Oh, I like it. Yeah.
I'm not saying these will all move. I'm just saying it's something to watch, that
Yeah.
if the market starts to move higher, these will most likely outperform the others because there won't be any overhead resistance, if that makes sense.
Yeah. 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 Roblox, what else?
Um,
I think that's like 5 or 6.
yeah. So there's also, what was the other one? Why can't I find it? I think Affirm.
Firm. It's a blast from the past. AFRM, right?
Oh, that's
Yep.
good looking. Sure.
Affirm looks phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna set alerts at both 45 and 35. So
So like, but what I think is really outside of Baba, right? Like the gamma squeeze conversations, the charts are there with you, right? It's not like not some crappy looking chart. They're pretty solid. They're sitting at the top of their bases, that you have the multiple catalysts kind of sitting there going, I'm ready, just give me the signal, right? Just give me the signal. So stuff to watch, right? We're in a game of probability ultimately. So give yourself the biggest edge to get that probability working in your favor.
you see that rip in App 11?
Dude,
What the hell?
monster. We've been
Yeah,
talking about that since the 30s.
beast. Yeah, beast move.
So, but like, so there's like three names in this category that I think, like, these newer IPOs that are monstrous, right? So AppLovin is one of them. The accumulation on AppLovin chart has been so evident for so long that the move that's happening over the last 4 or 5 days was like, yeah, no shit, it's about time, right?
Congratulations to anybody who bought in the teens or lower. Congrats. Like, just
Absolutely. The other one, Monday.com.
Oh,
Andy.
This thing, the accumulation is just phenomenal. Like on a monthly basis, go to monthly, go to quarterly. It's only green bars, right? Like it's just, look at that quarterly. And the other one that's already worked out essentially is Palantir.
Yep.
yeah, Palantir.
So
I knew Nick wanted to talk
why
a
I
little
quite often
Palantir.
talk about accumulation, especially in these bases, is that this is what you end up seeing a lot of times, right? It might take a little bit longer to get there. Like Wayfair, right? Wayfair is still a ton of accumulation in the base, hasn't had the move, but it will. Just give it some time. If you get a chance to buy in the lower end of the range, you're probably in a better position than the top end of the range. But these are all, accumulation doesn't mean it immediately goes. It means that there's support there for the longer term.
It's support to go. It's permission to launch.
Yes, whenever the catalysts line up for that permission to be granted.
Nick, you brought up AEP in the chat, which is
Oh, yeah.
American Electric Power. Well, whoa.
Yeah, look at that base.
I have seen worse charts today.
You don't think it's extended here though?
I mean, it very well could be.
I would have liked to see this move into this high from like much lower kind of technicals and stuff like that.
I mean, we're middle of the month. We could have an all-time monthly high easily here.
It looks phenomenal.
Don't we buy breakouts?
Not in 2024.
GP, you're great, great wet blanket tosser.
You once FOMC happens and they actually cut, you probably can buy breakouts, but for the last 7 or 8 months, it has been a wet blanket. Every breakout has been sold.
Well, all right, we have 10 minutes and we haven't talked about rate cuts or what might happen this week with that. I've teased it a little bit. We talked about it at the beginning. We talked about OPEX. But everything's always priced in advance, right? So shouldn't these rate cuts that have been telegraphed, aren't they priced in?
No,
No. Nicholas.
Um, yeah, I'm gonna kind of say no also.
No. So that would mean good news, and that would mean it's bullish, right? That means price is higher if it's not priced in. You wouldn't think that it would be lower,
depends on
right?
who you talk to, right? I'm in the camp that rate cuts are bullish because
I'm talking to you two.
yeah. So I'm in the camp that it's bullish because it introduces something that the market has been really needing, which is liquidity. And liquidity is what drives markets higher. And so I think it's bullish from that perspective. It also takes us out of the unclear zone that we've been in since January. Fed said data dependent. And why I don't think it's priced in is if you look at 2021, Powell came out in November 2021 and said inflation is crazy high. We are now immediately switching over to a higher rates for longer regime, right? And they didn't actually cut till March. But when did the markets die? They didn't really die in November. They died on January 5th. That's the day where the kind of the markets reversed and it started this massive downtrend. So yeah, so you could have said that in those 2 months the market didn't price in higher for longer, but it didn't ultimately, right? Based on the price action that followed. So I'm in the same camp here that markets are still waiting to find out what the Fed's going to say that goes along with the rate cuts to say, I personally think they're cutting rates in a trough, part of a growth cycle. And you can see it, even the numbers today, that number was great. What was the number? Not the ISM number. What was the number? Okay. It came out great. It was negative the last 3 months and it turned positive this month. Oh, the Empire Manufacturing Survey. It was -5, -4.7, like -4, -5, and all of a sudden this month is at 11.5. So I think they're normalizing rates into a growth cycle, which is why I think we go higher. And not some nefarious panic, they're behind the curve kind of conversation. Because you can say that the Fed is messed up, but have they really so far?
I mean, my only complaint is what my complaint is every time is they started too late and they end too late. Like
Yeah.
they overstay their welcome and they're late to the party, right? Like that's my only 2 cents. And even that being the case, if it's a soft and smooth landing, then I guess I can bitch about being a quarter or two too late or too early or too late,
Yeah.
too late.
I think even the ISM numbers last week were really good, right? Like, so GDP still in the 2.8 to 3% range. We have job growth, even though they're getting revised lower, it's still job growth. It's not job losses, right? So
Some
It's
lesser job growth, but still
yeah,
job growth. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, which is general signs of an economy that's trying to recover from and for an outside shock. And so to have peaks and trough in that outside shock and getting rates to normalize, our inflation's less than 3%. There's no reason our Fed funds rate should be 5.25 or 5.5%. Typically, those go hand in hand, right? So for them to cut down to where inflation's at or close to it is the right move before it becomes too restrictive, right? Before it gets entrenched and it becomes a bigger issue.
Nick, why do we move higher?
I just think we're ready to.
Yes.
Yeah,
We've got all these
Charts.
fat bases. I mean, we've been talking
yeah,
about fat bases for 45 minutes.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of just that simple for me. Like, I just think we're ready to. Like, I think we're ready to see some. I don't know.
It says the hell with the macro bros, the charts knows.
Yeah,
Yes. And
100%.
ultimately, none of this shit matters until Netflix goes anyway. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, just wait on Netflix. GP, would you buy Netflix for me today?
no, why?
Because I gave you $10,000.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay. Simple answer.
Yeah. Like this was a stock to buy in the 160s to 250s, not in the 700s, right? Can it go higher? Sure, that's what I wanted to do.
I
But
mean, we're talking if it goes to 1,300, I mean that's 70 some percent, right? Like you trying to keep me out of that?
no, because then I would rather put it in Tesla because by the time Netflix reaches 1,300, it'll be 2042.
Oh.
Because this thing just doesn't move.
Okay.
Yeah.
Long term, you're going to
I
see.
hope it's not that, but the way it's been behaving, it feels like it's going to be that.
Zillow and Redfin both look ready to go on monster runs.
Redfin, yeah, that was great.
I mean,
I
I guess
think
Zillow's already
Redfin
up 50%.
Redfin has all-time highs written all over it, in my opinion. That's
Redfin,
Really? Plus 100 from here.
dude.
yeah.
Not in a
So
straight
we
line, obviously.
obviously not. We started talking about Redfin when it was a 466 million market cap, right? And at that time, I believe Zillow was a 10 billion market cap, and now Zillow's a 13 billion market cap, and Redfin I think is a 1.5. So if the housing market is going to unlock off the rates, Redfin and Zillow are going to be big beneficiaries.
Go look at some of GP and my tweets back in November of 2021 about Zillow with some other person. You're basically right back there.
Yep.
I mean, it's taken a long time. You've had a lot of pain to endure, but you're basically right back there.
Yeah, I to go back to your question on like why higher, I think that the political madness is just another like kind of scared cat like I don't like another reason to keep people on the sidelines and out of the market. And I just think we're gonna I don't think that I don't know. I know nobody wants to hear this, but I don't think the market gives a shit who wins. Like we're gonna keep marching higher.
It never has.
No, exactly. Like it's just
Did you
it's
see the
another
ripoff of the debate with Kamala, right? Like it was Kamala's going to ruin the economy, and then it rips like 450 points. You're like, what?
uh,
Well, Goldman putting out their little note, that helped for sure.
You know what helps? It's certainty, right? Until the debate, it was who's going to win, who's not going to win. I think after the debate, and this can change next week, but after that debate, it seemed very clear who was the better candidate, right? And they do another debate or whatever it is. And I mean, in terms of winning, Nick, before you give me that sly smile, right? Um, she manhandled him in that debate.
yeah.
Whether you want to talk about other stuff, but she was poised. She didn't overreact. She didn't do stuff, and so markets like certainty. I don't care about the political climate ultimately because it's just more slivers of the same bullshit. But markets like certainty. And if you remember 2016, do you remember how much markets were going to drop if Trump took presidency?
Exactly.
Right? And then as soon as we got certainty, what happened? Boom.
And it's not even so much certainty as it is like known variables. Like it's okay to, I think, to have the variables out there as long as we know what they are, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. I agree 100%. Like I don't know.
Fair.
I'm happy to continue a little bit longer if you guys have time post market.
I probably have 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what about it. I got you.
So yeah, certainty is the key, right? We've been chopping since February, January FOMC because the government, the Fed told us that they don't know what they're going to do with interest rates because they're data dependent. And Jackson Hole, they came in and said, okay, we're ready now. We're going to cut rates.
Unlike the prior Jackson Hole where pain is coming.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, talk about a jolt, right? Like the whole pain is coming fiasco. I don't know. For someone who is not known to talk reckless, um, what a change a year makes, I guess.
Yeah. But he needed that for us to get our final bottom. Right? Isn't that what caused the final bottom essentially?
Yeah, I think so. September last year.
October 12th to 2022. It's 2022, I think you're talking about.
I was 2022. I was pretty close. Yep, there you go. Right there.
Yeah, it's a stark difference, but I think he's done a pretty good job. I don't know. I know he gets a lot of hate.
I'm not mad at Daddy Powell. We're only up 55% since that moment in time on the SPY. So
Yeah, it's kind of like if you didn't play right.
Congratulations, Mom and Dad. Your 401ks are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the shakeouts that are showing up here are kind of interesting, right? Is like quite often the conversation is like these shakeouts right before the breakout, right? And
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say earlier. I can't remember what you were talking about, but I was like, these kind of big pull-ins off the highs. Yeah, I kind of felt the same way, or feel the same way.
yeah, like I'm pretty confident on September 6th, the entire FinTwitterverse was like, we are going much lower, much, much, much lower. And I think I posted a chart that weekend saying, oh, look, Q's just retested the consolidation from the previous 5 months, right? So it's just like, and then what we had a bullish engulfing week, right? Last week?
Yeah.
Not exactly.
Hey, you guys want to talk crypto for a minute since we got about 5 or 6 more?
Yes, let's do it.
Bitcoin had a hell of a rally at the end of last week, and now we're sort of back down into the range where we were the week prior. We're still in my September window. I was hoping that we would power through one of those moving averages, but we haven't. We're still sandwiched in, so not the ideal outcome that I wanted to see for the weekly, but still plenty of time to get up above 61. Plenty of time to do that. Once it gets over that 50 or that 20 weekly, she gone. She gonna keep going, but I understand that there's a lot of pessimism right now with that weekly candle failure, and that's what it is. It didn't go through. It's a failure right now. But we're still holding that 50. You see the sandwich. You see the sandwich right there. I say you got to wait it out. I don't think anything changed between this Monday and last Monday, Nick, when I gave you those ranges.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. Yes, it was exciting to see that pop into the upper 60 60,670. That was fun, but we didn't close the weekly there. We pulled back. You can see it there on the daily. But it's not a clutch my pearls like, oh no, we failed the first attempt. I don't know what you guys are thinking or feeling about it, but not much has changed in a week. Some excitement, some heart palpitations, but that's about it.
I think you kind of saw that Bitcoin was going to fail when coin couldn't participate, right, on Friday. At least that's what I was thinking. There's been a stark divergence in coin versus Bitcoin as well over the last couple of weeks. But it's the same conversation as the other names, Bags. I think it's a liquidity conversation, and as soon as liquidity starts to flow again, these names start to break out. Otherwise, they're just bouncing between up and down ranges.
I mean, I marked 161. I don't know how many weeks ago on coin. We're still holding it. So I think.
Yeah, I mean, like on Friday, Bitcoin was breaking out. I don't know, 6-7%.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to look into that, that could have been a tail, and you would have been right that Bitcoin wasn't going to. This was not a real move higher. But again, just like that 161 level, still treading water around it.
Yeah, but this is one of the few crypto names that's well under its 200-day moving average. So there's a big divergence in coin versus Bitcoin anyway. So that, like, if you look at the MicroStrategy chart and the Bitcoin chart, they look nearly identical.
Yes.
200-week or 50-week moving touches, all that stuff. Coin is not.
So are you bearish on coin then right now? Or are you just
I'm annoyed on coin right now.
yeah.
It sucks to be wrong.
Like it's just gonna follow, it's drifting lower right now, but it'll likely just end up following whatever direction Bitcoin probably takes ultimately. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I
Ultimately.
don't think the horses or the whatever the saying is leading the horse. I don't think the cart's leading the horse here.
Like, do you think we
No,
get another chance at like
Coin is
100?
the cart, right? Bitcoin is the catalyst. Coin can move up and down independent of Bitcoin, but when Bitcoin is going in a direction, it is going to drag coin kicking and screaming.
agreed. So like coin reminds me a lot of how a firm looked, right? A firm monster volume into that 48 to 50 level, and then spent the last 9 months just slowly dying to like that 21, 22 level. And within a week of earnings, back to 45, right? Like, so there's lots of accumulation in the coin chart. So if you're looking at it long term, I think it's doing well. And all of this nonsense here, this short term, 3 month, 6 month, 9 month nonsense is on very, very little volume, but they keep crushing it.
Nick, I want to put this out here. I will likely have a differing opinion than my opinion this week and last week the next time we talk
On coin?
on Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
So yes, thus
So
coin.
my kind of to my point earlier when we were kind of talking about those, bases or ranges and like the waves, it's kind of like Bitcoin's like a great example. It's tough. Like you can, like I could look at the Bitcoin chart and say my bias is lower near term just because we're putting in lower highs, but then at the same time, well, we're holding the lows. So like I don't really.
No man's land for you.
Yeah, from a trading perspective, like I don't really feel like I have an edge unless I'm buying versus the low end of the range looking for a bounce. I'm not looking to short the floor.
I feel that.
Yeah, but if you're inclined to, you can, if you wanted to short it here, stop above that 161 area, right? Whatever you want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
choose, or buy with a stop underneath that level, right? You can go either way.
Covering into 50 and then probably again into 40 or
If coin is a bear flag and it actually breaks down here, it's going to 118, right? So
Yes.
um regardless of what Bitcoin does or does not do, if the breakdown here is it's to 118. The weekly gives you some hope because it reclaimed that pivot, but daily doesn't look great.
No. And with a rate cut, I would expect GP, if your thesis on rate cuts are correct, that should be liquidity, and we should be moving the pendulum a little more to risk on as opposed to risk off. And we all know that crypto is the ultimate risk on. So I'm
Yeah.
not saying we see a huge move in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies overnight, but I would expect this time next week we are sitting in a very different place than we were the last 2 weeks. And you can probably guess where I am betting.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you guys following junk bonds at all? So Nick,
No.
take a look at junk bonds, Bags, take a look at junk bonds, right? When this starts to break out, this is
It's
suggesting to
breaking out.
you, huh?
It is breaking out.
Exactly. And this is suggesting to you where equities are going, right? Because this is a great tell on risk on.
oh yeah, okay.
So you can see it, right? When risk went off, junk bonds died immediately.
I
And
can dig
so
it.
Page
this
two.
is already starting the week, starting to break higher here. And yes, you have that big weekly moving average there that could potentially stop it in its tracks. But I think that's kind of my tell here in terms of overall market sentiment is that your junk bonds are indicating risk on.
We probably get a move in the Russell too.
100%, yeah. And it might be delayed. This first couple of days might actually be sells, right? Like there's been a lot of that this year is the fake out before the breakout, right? So um we got that in the Russell just 2 months ago when they destroyed it for 20% in 3 days. Right? It went from what it went from like 228 to 192 in like 3 days on an index. So
Fun.
yeah, but I think junk bonds are telling you where the markets essentially want to go. It might take the crooked and not the straight path there, but
I want to go higher.
yeah,
That's what we want to do.
yeah. Everyone
Always
likes higher.
higher, all the way up,
People are just more cheery when it's higher.
except those piss poor, miserable perma bears. Like
Yeah, but there's like three of them versus like all the people would be happy, including all the moms and
they
dads of the
are
world.
very outspoken for the numbers that they have. They're very, very outspoken.
Yep, with their ridiculous takes. I
Oh,
still like it still cracks me up that people maybe we get to 2007, 2008 levels, but it still cracks me up that people think that we're right in that area, that we're gonna experience the great financial crisis all over again here. And I'm like, as of now, I don't see much of it. I don't know if you guys do. Do you guys see not being able to feed your families, having to sell off your assets to feed your families, pay rent?
I mean, I do think politicians are out of touch when it comes
Rain
to
from Downham.
people getting pinched. Like I can see it with like amongst my staff and like the money that they're making. I hear it within the service industry, like what servers, bartenders, barbacks, like what they're all making. It's interesting because like no, we're not strippers, but like service industry is usually a pretty good tell on where things are heading, and it's looking tight.
Is
Definitely
it?
definitely noticeable, yeah. And you could argue that some people are sick of like tipping culture, but we're talking about fine dining here. We're not talking about like Chili's and Applebee's, Texas Roadhouse. But I don't know. Who knows?
No, that's
Yeah,
very curious. Obviously, we live in a bubble here in New Jersey, New York, so I still can't get a reservation anywhere. So
I mean, you can still. I'm not saying. I haven't seen any major shift or changes in like the reservation counts per se, but more definitely in how much they're spending and how they're tipping.
okay. What?
Minneapolis is like the Wild West. Like it is so wild down there. I mean, like on Friday night, we had a massive fight broke out where some person in a car drove through the crowd, smashed, ran over two people. Like, dude, I'm not even I can't I can't put into words what Minneapolis is like on any given night after like basically after business hours. As soon as like as soon as like your normal 9 to 5ers like leave downtown, it is like, dude, I'm not kidding. It is the Wild West. Like
Interesting.
if you had like it would not be uncommon for you to see like people ripping around on like four-wheelers and dirt bikes and like, dude, you see scooter mobs like rolling. It's wild.
That is wild.
But we
How's it for you, Ben?
it's been great for us because the people that come in to dine from out of town are typically like um they're typically celebrating or they're going to like a show or that kind of stuff. And with the state of downtown, like it's interesting seeing valet parking become more of a convenience and safety thing as opposed to like a luxury, hey, look at me kind of thing. Like people are wanting their car parked because they want to know their vehicles are parked in like airtight ramps that are actually secure, not just out on the street or on a surface lot.
Yeah.
My experience is
Yeah.
vastly different, GP.
Oh,
I would say that um, we're very fortunate, but I live in one of the most impoverished regions in the country and one of the most
Yeah.
isolated regions in the country. So like it's hard to have regular service from a full staff at a McDonald's even, right? So I definitely feel Nick on what he's saying about, the service industry because that's been happening here for quite some time. A, a debate that a friend and I had recently about that was, well, what's happening to these people, right? Where are they going? Why aren't some of these places able to keep the help? And I'm not going to just pick on McDonald's, but service industry jobs. And it's like, well, they're either moving out or they're getting an education and finding other employment. And I kind of quiz like the education and getting better employment, isn't that what we want? Right? Like
Yeah.
I understand that it's taking 10 minutes to go through the McDonald's at drive, that shouldn't keep calling out McDonald's. I realize it's taking longer to get through the drive-through than you're accustomed to, but if people are getting better paying jobs, isn't that what we all should be wanting? And there wasn't really a great rebuttal to that. So I don't think my experience here is a great emblem of what's going on in the rest of the country, even though we are a small rural town and a large part of the country is small rural.
Yeah.
Um, so
I
it's
mean,
hard for me to say. I do see the pain. I do see people who are either struggling in some type of way, like you can see it in people's eyes, right?
Yeah.
So I do see and I feel that, but at the same time, um, I bring up $80,000 pickup trucks, right? I've mentioned that numerous times on this channel and during our show, and some of these people they have over leveraged themselves to the hilt,
mhm.
and it's hard for me to say, well, that's the economy's fault or that's a politician's fault. Um, you'd probably were better off finding a $20,000 truck or a $30,000 truck than an $80,000 truck, right? Or your mortgage is X, right? Or your negative equity on your vehicle. Well, like I get we all have things that happen. So I see a lot of that too.
The,
And
the, the thing is, like in Minneapolis here, for instance, every minimum wage and minimum wage was behind the times. Like it got shoved down and was incredibly behind the times. And all of a sudden, go into pre-COVID, we slammed through this, $15 an hour minimum wage push. And it got pushed through so fast and so hard that it didn't, I think that we're seeing the natural like ripple effect or consequence of us shoving that through as fast as we did. I'm just talking about Minneapolis, St. Paul in particular. I'm not talking about nationally. Um, which is neither here nor there, but I just think that that was like a big start to like what we're seeing here in the cities. I mean, everything has played a part to what we're seeing.
Which,
Like
but it kind of makes sense, right? So I just came across a pay slip from when I was in high school. Um, it was 650 an hour. I don't think there's a single person in this country that will work a full 8 hour day for a grand total of $52. I
yeah,
just don't think that's there anymore, right? Like it just won't happen. But shit, when I'm talking about even high school students when I was working this job, is I was ecstatic about $52, but I just don't think that's the current culture either, right? Even in the younger generation, that they'd be happy making $52 a day. They want to be making thousands of dollars a day because they deserve it at the age of 16, right? Like that's the general, at least what I think. I could be wholeheartedly.
everybody wants to get rich as quickly as they can, right? Like everybody wants to be wealthy and have all their problems taken care
We did
of.
not when we were growing up. We were working hard to get the experience.
yeah,
I'm not saying 10, 20, 30 years ago. I'm saying now,
Yeah,
right
that's the
now,
difference.
everybody wants what's coming to them now, right now, or yesterday, or sooner, right? Like I think that's a large part of the challenge here, and I'm not going to put that on younger folks. In general, I think I mean we see it on stock Twitch, right? Like I mean you know who the gamblers are out there, right? I've been guilty of being the gambler, but some people are going YOLO on their entire account on every trade and blowing up account after account. That's because they want to turn that percentage immediately.
yeah.
And that's not young people that's doing that.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
Anyway,
But it's
I've
also
got to
not
run.
50-year-olds.
I've got two little boys ready for football practice that I've got to go. So
Yeah.
Good
I
luck. Stay safe.
So you guys.
love you
Later.
guys. Talk to you soon.